My child, you have come through something decisive, and you need to hear this now before you step any further. Do not scroll past these words. Do not assume this is something you can return to later. What you have just walked through has already changed you, even if your mind has not yet caught up with what your spirit knows. Do not rush past this. Stay present for what comes next. It matters more than you realize. You may believe you only endured another difficult stretch, another long season of waiting, another quiet struggle that seemed invisible to everyone else. But what you passed through was not ordinary. It was a crossing point. And before you move into what lies ahead, you must understand what just took place. This moment cannot be delayed. You have not yet grasped the weight of what you have come through. I do not desire for you to step into what comes next without clarity. What is ahead carries greater depth, greater trust, and a closer walk than you have known before. If you move forward without understanding, doubt will rise again. You will question yourself. You will hesitate. You will wonder if you are prepared. I do not want you to carry that uncertainty with you. I want you to move forward, grounded, not unsure. So listen now fully, attentively, not with fear, not with resistance, but with the quiet strength that has been forming within you. Stay here for a moment. What follows may help reshape how you see your past, your faith, and the path ahead. You have been looking back on your life and naming it struggle, delay, confusion. You have called it loss. You have called it endurance. You have called it survival. But you have not yet named it for what it truly was. It was a season that revealed your faith, one that did not come to break you or drain you, but to reveal who you are when no one is watching, when answers take time, when certainty fades, and when nothing is promised, when no one is watching, when answers take time, when certainty fades, and when nothing is promised. You did not pass because you never questioned. You did not pass because you were always strong or because you made every right choice. You passed because you stayed. You stayed when leaving would have been easier. You stayed when hope felt thin and strength felt limited. You stayed when faith felt quiet and effort felt heavy. You remained honest. You remained open. You remained human. And that mattered more than you realize. I saw you in the moments that felt invisible. I saw you wonder if your faithfulness counted. I saw you choose integrity when and still show up outwardly. I saw you resist bitterness when disappointment tried to settle in your heart. The Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. Those moments were not insignificant. They were the measure, and you passed. You thought the test was only about endurance, but it was also about trust. Could you remain steady without reassurance? Could you continue without visible progress? Could you stay faithful without recognition, clarity, or immediate reward? You did not always feel confident, but you remained willing. And willingness is where growth begins. This cannot be delayed, because what has shifted between us now is not separation but closeness, not pressure but trust. What you've walked through has deepened the way you can hear me and recognize my guidance. It has changed how directly I can guide you. It has opened space for understanding that would have overwhelmed you before. You are not who you were at the beginning of this season, even if you have not fully realized it yet. You are more grounded now. There is a calm within you that did not exist before. Fear no longer drives you the way it once did, and awareness has taken its place. This change did not arrive suddenly. It was formed through each difficult day, each moment you chose not to give up. You are standing at the edge of what comes next, assuming it will feel familiar. It will not. What lies ahead is not a repeat of what was. It is a continuation, but with greater depth. And depth requires understanding. That is why these words are coming now, not later. If you move forward too quickly, you will overlook how much you have grown and diminish what has been formed within you. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. You are not meant to carry old doubt into a new season. Remain here for a moment. Let this truth settle before you take another step. You have spent a long time bracing yourself, managing expectations, preparing for disappointment, guarding your hope so it would not hurt you again. That protection was not wasted. It carried you through what you could not yet name. But now its purpose is complete. What once kept you steady can no longer lead you forward. To receive what comes next, your grip must soften. You learn to survive by staying alert, by holding back, by waiting for the moment when things might fall apart again. But this season is asking for something different. Not striving, not proving, not bracing. It is asking for trust that does hope that does not hide. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. What you are stepping into cannot be controlled the way the past was managed. You passed the test because, when uncertainty surrounded you, you did not abandon who you are. You did not harden your heart. You did not trade truth for safety. You adjusted without losing your center. That is readiness. And readiness requires understanding before movement. If you move too quickly, you will misread permission as pressure and grace as demand. Something has shifted. The ground beneath you is steadier than you think. You are not being asked to defend yourself anymore. You are being invited to receive. Let go just enough to step forward without fear. What is unfolding is not earned by effort. It is entered through trust. What you have been waiting for was never meant to arrive with noise or spectacle. You were looking for a sign that would announce itself clearly, something unmistakable, something that would remove all doubt at once. But the shift you are standing in now speaks differently. It speaks through understanding. It settles rather than overwhelms. It steadies rather than rushes. This is the kind of trust that does not need to prove itself. Not the loud confidence that demands attention, but the quiet certainty that remains even when nothing around you changes immediately. You can feel it beginning to form, not as excitement, but as calm, not as urgency, but as readiness. Those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. What is rising in you now is not haste, but endurance refined into clarity. You once believed survival was the goal. You thought staying meant merely getting through, but staying shaped you. What felt like delay was preparation. What felt like weakness was strength being refined under pressure. You are starting to see that the process was not empty, it was intentional. And that realization changes how you move forward. Do not rush past this moment. Let it reframe how you see yourself. When understanding takes root, fear loosens its hold. When clarity settles, striving begins to fall away. You are not stepping forward unsure anymore. You are stepping forward aware. And awareness is what allows what comes next to meet you without resistance. You came through the final test without realizing it was happening. There was no announcement, no recognition, no clear signal telling you that this moment mattered. It did not endurance. It looked like choosing to remain when walking away would have felt easier and safer. It looked like choosing honesty when pretending would have protected you. It looked like waking up exhausted and still showing up with the little strength you had left. That was the measure, and you met it. You expected a test to come with instructions and visible outcomes, something dramatic that would make it obvious you were being evaluated. But the most defining tests are woven into ordinary days. They ask who you will be when nothing is promised and no one is watching. This one did not measure performance. It measured your heart. It did not weigh results. It examined trust. It revealed whether you would remain present when answers moved slowly and emotions offered little reassurance. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. I saw you endure when you did not feel strong. I saw you continue when certainty was absent. I saw you remain humble when frustration tempted you to harden. You questioned yourself. You doubted whether your progress was real. You wondered if any of it truly mattered. Yet even in that uncertainty, you stayed honest. You did not pretend to be someone you were not. You did not abandon your values to feel secure. You did not trade truth for comfort. Those quiet decisions were the evidence. You did not pass because you were flawless. You passed because you were faithful in ways no one applauded. You passed because you kept your heart open when disappointment tried to close it. You passed because you refused to let cynicism become your defense. You passed because you kept listening even when clarity felt distant. even when faith required effort instead of ease. Presence became your strength, and presence mattered more than you ever knew. There were days when it felt like nothing was moving. Progress seemed hidden, hope felt delicate. You assumed you were standing still. But remaining steady in faith is not stagnation, it is endurance. It is the courage to stay present until understanding arrives. You did not rush ahead, you did not force clarity. You remained where you were, and that choice mattered. You stayed, and that staying formed a strength you could not have gained any other way. You thought the test was only about how much weight you could carry, but with compassion or with cruelty? Would shame shape your voice, or would patience grow instead? You learned how to be kind to yourself without giving up. You learned to name your limits without surrendering to them. You learned how to rest without quitting. Those lessons did not feel like triumph, yet they were. I saw you choose quietly, not with dramatic gestures, but with steady decisions. You chose integrity when compromise would have gone unnoticed. You chose kindness when bitterness would have felt justified. You chose restraint when reaction promised quick relief. These were not visible victories. They were internal, they were private, and they revealed readiness more clearly than any public achievement ever could. There were moments you thought you were failing simply because the struggle lingered. But the length of a test does not define failure. Sometimes length is what reveals endurance. You were being shown who you are when the finish line is out of sight. You were learning how to live without constant reassurance. That kind of trust is not easy. It does not depend on feeling strong or seeing results. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial. Perseverance was shaping you quietly. You did not recognize this as the final test, because final tests rarely announce themselves. They come after many others, measuring what has truly been learned. This one asked whether you would keep walking when the path felt ordinary again, when excitement faded, when nothing felt new. And you did. Consistency became your strength. I saw your courage, even when it went unseen. I saw you resist the urge to numb yourself. I saw you sit with discomfort rather than escape it. I saw you choose reflection over distraction. Those choices refined you, they steadied you, they sharpened your awareness. You are not who you were when this season began. You may not feel victorious, but you are grounded, and that is victory. You may wonder why recognition did not come sooner, why the moment was not marked clearly. It is because recognition was never the reward. Formation was. If you had known it was a test, you might have performed. Instead, you lived honestly, and that honesty is what prepared you. You passed because you did not abandon your values when they became inconvenient. You passed because you chose truth. There were days you felt unseen, wondering if your effort mattered. Every quiet step mattered. Every moment you chose to continue counted. This test did not require you to prove your worth. It revealed it. It showed that your faith does not depend on conditions, and your character does not exist for display. You waited. You endured. You remained open. You may still feel tired. Passing a test does not always bring immediate relief. Sometimes it brings awareness of how much you carried, how strong you became without noticing, how something shifted even if nothing looks different yet. That awareness is the beginning of rest. Release the belief that victory must be dramatic. Quiet victories change lives. Unseen strength endures. You are standing here now because you came through something that once would have broken you. Not because you became untouchable, but because you grew. You did not notice it while it was happening, yet you were being shaped into someone who can be trusted with what comes next. You were learning to walk without constant confirmation. You were learning to listen without panic. You were learning to remain steady when outcomes were unclear. These are not small abilities. Recognition follows formation, not the other way around. What you passed was not a burden added to your life. It was readiness. Trust has been built, and the path ahead will feel steadier and lighter because the old uncertainty no longer weighs on you. You did not merely survive, you learned. You did not simply endure, you matured. You did not just wait, you became, and every quiet step was seen. That season required solitude, not as rejection, not as abandonment, but as preparation. Loneliness can distort memory, making refinement feel like loss. But what you experienced was a narrowing of voices so truth could be heard without interference. Some relationships shifted. Some support faded. There were moments you felt unheard and unseen, and you questioned yourself. Yet what felt like loss was space being made. Space is uncomfortable when its purpose is hidden, but it is necessary when something new is forming. Foundations built on being understood or affirmed are fragile. I was strengthening something steadier within you. When voices around you grew quiet, you learned to listen inwardly. When encouragement faded, you discovered what truly sustained you. That exposure was not meant to shame you, but to free you to anchor your worth deep. Response: the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. Even in silence, you were not alone. Discernment grows best in quiet. Without constant noise, truth becomes clearer. You began to trust what settled your spirit rather than what pleased others. There were times you felt invisible, and the pain cut deeply. Yet some of the most important shaping happens without an audience. Integrity learned without applause endures. You learn to keep going without validation. You learn to stand without leaning too heavily on others. Not because support is wrong, but because support should strengthen you, not replace your footing. Growth often creates distance before alignment, and that distance signaled movement, not failure. This was a season, not a sentence. Its purpose was to strengthen your foundation, to teach you how to stand when support is thin, and to show you that being alone is not being abandoned. You now know how to sit with silence, how to listen without panic, how to trust without constant reassurance. These are marks of maturity. You will no longer settle for connection that requires you to shrink. You will choose honesty over performance. You were not abandoned. You were refined. You were not forgotten. You were being prepared, strengthened from the inside out. Because you walked through that season, you are steadier now, clearer, less dependent on approval, and more rooted in truth. That is why what comes next will feel different. You will not need to grasp or prove yourself. You will move forward with quiet confidence, knowing you can stand whether others walk beside you or not. I was with you through every step, even when it felt like no one else was. The strength you carry now is proof that the loneliness was never empty. It was sacred. While you were struggling, I was shaping your faith in ways you may not have noticed at the time. Not perfection, not performance. I was watching your heart. I watched how you carried yourself when reassurance was absent, how you responded as pressure built quietly, how you treated yourself when answers did not come. You thought the struggle meant something was wrong. But the struggle was the place where readiness was being revealed. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. I watched posture more than progress. When movement stalled, did your heart harden or soften? When disappointment arrived, did you turn inward with honesty or outward with blame? When silence lasted longer than comfort allowed, did you flee it or remain present? These were not minor details. They were the core of the test. Readiness is not proven by speed. It is proven by posture. I watched what you chose in private, not what you displayed in public. When faith brought no reward and staying offered no recognition, how did you live? Did you remain true to who you were? Or did you begin to compromise to ease the pressure? Did you speak to yourself with harshness? Or did you learn grace? Quiet choices shape lasting strength. I watched how you handled frustration. Pressure reveals what lies beneath. When effort felt wasted and clarity refused to arrive, did bitterness take root, or did you stay open despite your weariness? You did not always feel patient, but you chose not to abandon yourself or the path you were on. That choice was quiet, but it carried weight. I watched how you trusted under strain, not to judge you, but to see how deeply trust had grown. Trust does not mean the absence of questions. It means questions do not become accusations. You wrestled honestly. You asked why, yet you did not close your heart or decide that silence meant absence. You stayed connected even when understanding lagged behind. That is trust formed through experience, not assumption. I watched how you faced temptation, not only the obvious kind, but the subtle pull to numb yourself, to distract endlessly, to grow cynical, to stop caring because hope felt risky. You felt those pulls, but you did not let them define you. I watched your words when you were tired. Wariness often reveals what we truly believe. You were not always positive, and that was not what mattered. What mattered was that you remained honest without becoming hopeless. You learned to name pain without turning it into identity. That is maturity. I watched whether you could keep walking without knowing exactly where the path led, whether you could accept uncertainty without panic, whether you could live without constant reassurance that you were doing it right. You did not always feel confident, but you kept moving forward gently instead of freezing. That willingness mattered. I watched how you treated others while you were hurting. Pain often narrows perspective, but you did not lose compassion. You noticed people. You chose kindness, even when you felt empty. That was not weakness. That was strength refined by humility. I watched whether you tried to control outcomes or learn to release them. Control can look like effort, but it often hides fear. You learned that not everything yields to force. You learned to let go without giving up. That shift was subtle, yet essential. It showed trust in timing rather than resistance to it. You thought difficulty meant punishment, but punishment focuses on failure. What you experienced focused on formation. I was not asking whether you deserved something. I was watching whether you were becoming someone who could carry it without losing yourself. Readiness is not about talent, it is about stability. I watched how you handled expectations you once held tightly. You learned to loosen timelines and live without guarantees. That was not surrender to defeat, it was surrender to trust. I watched how you returned after doubt. Doubt did not disqualify you. Returning mattered more. You did not pretend. You admitted when you were tired, confused, in need of help. That honesty made room for growth. Pride would have closed that door. You chose openness instead. You allowed struggle to soften you rather than harden you. You clung to being real, not being right. What I saw was not failure. I saw someone learning to stand without applause, to trust without proof, to remain present without certainty. These are the qualities that determine readiness for what comes next. I was not measuring how fast you escaped the struggle. I was measuring how deeply you were being shaped within it. I was not counting mistakes. I was observing growth. I was not measuring output. I was measuring resilience. You were not being evaluated for punishment. You were being prepared for responsibility, and responsibility rests on steadiness, humility, and trust that does not collapse under pressure. You carried these qualities quietly, consistently, imperfectly, yet sincerely. Release the shame you attached to the struggle. Shame says you should have done better. Meaning says you were becoming ready. This was never a test to see if you would be rejected. It was a test to see whether deeper trust could be placed in you without costing you your peace. Everything you believed disqualified you was, in truth, preparing you. The questions, the waiting, the quiet endurance, the honest wrestling, none of these stood against you. They revealed readiness. Now you understand what was being sought all along. Not perfection, not performance, but presence. Not certainty, but honesty. Not force, but trust. Not pride, but humility. And you carried each of these, even when you did not realize it. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. The fact that you are here now, listening, open, steady, speaks clearly. You did not pass because you were flawless. You passed because you were faithful where it mattered most. The testing of your faith produces perseverance. What comes next cannot be entered blindly and understood later. Timing matters more than you think. Understanding must settle first. Alignment must take root within before movement unfolds without. If you move forward without clarity, you will misread invitation as pressure and mistake growth for burden. This moment exists to prevent that. Old misunderstandings are meant to be set down here, not carried into what is new. What lies ahead is not heavier, it is truer. Not louder, but steadier. You are not being led forward to prove yourself, but to walk with what has already been formed. Trust has been built. Readiness has been revealed. And now, with clarity in place, the next step can be taken without fear. If this message met you right where you are, take a quiet moment to reflect so you can return to this truth whenever doubt tries to rise again. Father God, I come before you with a quiet heart. I thank you for carrying me through what I did not understand at the time. I release the weight I have been holding and place my trust fully in you. Where doubt once lived, plant clarity. Where fear once ruled, establish peace. Teach me to walk forward without striving, to trust without needing proof, and to rest in the truth that you have already formed within me what I need for what comes next. Amen.